So welcome to the Pain Points podcast. In this episode, I've invited a good friend of mine, Chris Moore. Chris Moore graduated from Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, with a Bachelor of Business Administration. He was a general manager and executive of Young Entrepreneurs across America, the general manager of CalRob Venture Group. He is the owner, or was the owner, of Elite Painting in Swansea, Illinois, and is the founding and managing advisor of Elite Business Advisors. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Christian. I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah. So today, a lot of things that we talk about in business, especially in the painting industry, is systems for scaling. How can you, that you need to work on the business, the whole E-Myth principle, work on the business, not in the business. Yeah, it's a great book. And how systems are the key to doing that in order to scale. But one thing I kind of wanted to touch on for smaller companies is how systems can actually be used for sustainability. What better guest to have on than Chris Moore of Elite Business Advisors for that. So Chris, real quick, tell us what you guys do over there at Elite Business Advisors.
Yeah, Christian. So we work primarily with painting contractors to help them treat their business like a business and to view things through a little bit more of the business lens. I love that you've already used the E-Myth, kind of nod in here because, a lot of people are technicians. So we try to help them get down the line a little bit more to be a manager, to be an entrepreneur, to continue on with that reference. And so, we just try to help people understand their business, understand their financials, and like I said, it's all pretty much helping painting contractors run the business they want, whether it's growth or whether it's we want a very systematic, smaller company, $300,000 to $500,000 a year in revenue, and we want to spend time with our kids and growing family, right? So we aren't just like helping businesses scale, but also just really more so focus on what they need in their business to help them achieve their goals.
Right. And so would you say that every business needs the exact same recipe in order to be successful?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can standardize as many things as you want. We've got a great coaching program that we kind of walk people through systematically, and we have a comprehensive checklist of everything that we feel like shows you're treating your business like a business. But it doesn't matter if you have one employee or if you have 10 employees, right, or 15, right? You still need the right systems in place. So, every business is different. I always say I've seen, probably $100 million painting companies, and every single one of them are different, right? In some way, shape, or form. So there is no one recipe to success when it comes to the painting industry, or really any business for that matter.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine running a $100 million painting business. I know what you meant, Chris.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. I'm good.
So, like we said, a lot of talk, we're always talking about how to get off the truck, get off the brush, and get into the back office, get into building and developing these systems in order to scale to be that $1 million plus type company. But in all honesty, the average painting company size is 1.6 employees. So for everyone out there, or for the vast majority of them that are out there, we did some statistics on the competition episode, and we were talking about who is our competition, and it 16% of small businesses are above 20 employees. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was above 2 employees, 16%. That means 84% of small businesses are 1 employee to 1.5 employees. So speaking to the average, the norm, or the majority of painting business owners out there, how can systems benefit them, even though they're not managing tons of people or tons of revenue?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, a big piece of it is systems, and I kind of alluded to this a few seconds ago, systems allow you to do more with less, right? Less resources, whether it's time, whether it's money, whatever it is. And so I think for the smaller companies out there, like, I'm not even going to go into what a definition of a system is, because there's so many different definitions of it, right? To me, a system is something you put in place to make your life easier, plain and simple, right? Whether it's a routine, whether it's a way that you do something, whether it's a full blown, like, interviewing system on how you want to recruit employees. A system can be a multitude of things. And so I think really, understanding that no matter how big or small you are, yes, you're going to need different systems at different points in your business. But when you're a smaller company, having the right systems, one, allows you to scale and grow, well, if you are, wanting to do that down the road, right? I always say build the foundation
Right.
now and then it's copy and paste from there. But two, the system can really allow you to get some time back or make your life easier, right? Like,
Yeah.
kind of one quick example is, if you have one employee and, in addition to yourself, and you still leave to go bid jobs, right? You might leave to go pick up paint. You might leave to go do something for your business or maybe just even in your personal life. Like, don't you want to know that that one employee that's still there doesn't have to call you with 100 questions? Right?
Right.
Like, wouldn't it be nice to have a system to where they can just have answers and know what's going on in the project and know what colors go in what rooms and what's being painted and what's not? So I think, again, that's just one of many examples, and I know we'll go through some more here, of really just having the system in place to make your life easier, and to set you up for success. If you do decide you want to grow beyond that, you've got the right systems in place to do that in the infrastructure.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. You were kind of touching on the fact that from a foundational standpoint, I know for me personally, so the way the idea for this podcast, for this episode came up is I wound up having a minor surgery in December. So I was out for 3 weeks and I was going crazy, but I had planned during those 3 weeks to do some things. I worked on a little bit of marketing and then I started developing some of these systems. And even though it's just me in the business right now, by writing down my standard operating procedure for interior painting and for cabinet refinishing and for exteriors, or for, starting to develop a process of how I, field a new prospect, the benefit that I realize, and this is exactly to your point, is that it's freed up my mind to do other things, whether it's for me thinking about other things in growing my business, but also I'm not stressed out as much. It's kind of like, I guess the analogy is, if you have all of these different programs running in the background of your computer's going to lag. But if you close some of those programs out and click save, those things aren't going to go anywhere, but it's not taking up processing power. And our brain is the same. Would you agree on that?
100%. 100%. And that's why I think there's so many different definitions of what a system is, right? I could go into so many details. We did an episode earlier this season on our podcast about systems and stuff, and I had a lot of different like cheesy examples, but it is exactly freeing up brain power. Like, that's one thing that I tell clients, when we talk about productivity and, just efficiency and making sure things don't slip through the cracks, is I was like, you need a system in place, right? Like, I use a hybrid system of Trello for like my to-do list every day throughout the week, and my
Okay.
calendar and my reminders list on my phone. I said, and that allows me to be present, having a conversation here with you right now, because everything that I need to do in my personal life and in my business is on a list somewhere. Like, I'm not
Right.
sitting here going, okay, well, as soon as I get off here, what do I need to do? Okay, when I get home, like, what are we having for dinner tonight? Like, it's on the list, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, just again with systems, exactly. I love what you just said. It takes the stress out of your life, right? Like, I'm one of those people that, knowing that there's a list and things that need done, it gives me peace of mind. And I think that's true for all systems and on all business and personal life. You just don't have to worry about it. It's you're just on autopilot as long as the system doesn't break down on you.
Yeah. No, that those are all good points. what are some of the you're dealing with small business owners on a daily basis. What are some of the main
Right.
hindrances that are keeping small business owners from documenting or developing these processes? I don't want to say developing, because to be quite honest, they're doing something,
Yeah.
and whatever you're doing, that's
Right.
still a process, right? So what are some of the
Yep.
stumbling blocks or speed bumps that's keeping them from documenting these processes?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One, analysis paralysis. Like they feel like documenting these things is actually a bigger deal than they really are. And two, I think just making the time to do it. As we're growing here, we have three part-time advisors with us, and everybody has painting industry experience since that's kind of our specialty, and that helps. But I literally spent 4 hours of my day yesterday documenting our SOPs on how I
Mm-hmm.
think through and coach business owners, like when they need help with their finances, right? Like, what are the tools? What are the resources? What's the flow I think through, to where they have some guidance, and I'm not just being like, yeah, help this person with their finances. And they're like, well, how do we do it? Like, we're documenting those things. And in order to do that, it took me to time block out my calendar for 3 to 4 hours yesterday. And two, it wasn't hard. Like you just said, I didn't have to develop anything. I just had to take the way that I've been doing it for 5 years and put it down on paper, right? And
Right.
guess what? It's going to be a living document. I think that's one thing I want people to understand listening to this. When you're documenting systems and SOPs and processes, understand that what you put down on paper is not the finished product for the rest of your life, right? Like there's going to be something you forget. There's going to be something you're going to change. You're going to go to something like PCA Expo here in a couple of weeks, from when we're recording this at least, and you're
Right.
going to hear something and you're like, oh, we should add that into our SOPs. You're always going to change it. It is going to be a living document for you and your company for the rest of eternity. And so don't let that stop you from doing it, because most people want it to be perfect before they do it, right? They're like, hey, I'm going to spend this time doing it and I want it to be 100% perfect. No, just start with it and change it and update it as you go.
That's so powerful. You talking about it being a living document. One of the things that I wanted to bring up is that a lot of times we forget that our business, another name for our business is organization, and the root to organization is
Yep.
organism, and an organism is a living thing. So your process for sales or cabinet coating, like right now I typed up my cabinet coating process last month. It's already out of date because I'm going to be switching to a new coding system, but I did it. It's out of
Yep.
my head. I can continue and pick up from that and then adjust it. And like, just because
Yeah.
it's written down doesn't mean it's written in blood or stone. So these things can move and can grow. And I
Exactly.
just love how you said, honestly, that's got to be one of the number one reasons for analysis paralysis, is because we're like, well, if I have 15
Yeah.
guys, I'm only at one guy right now, but if I have 15, will this process work? It's going to look different because you're
Right.
not wearing all the hats at that point. No, that was
Yep.
super, super good. Super
Yeah.
good point.
No, that's good.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I didn't want to cut you off there. And I don't get me wrong. Like, was there 100 other things I really needed to do yesterday? 100%, right? But it was one of those things that I know that for us to continue to grow, and that's part of our goal, and that's again, that doesn't have to be everybody's goal listening to this, but for us to grow to where we can serve 100 clients in the painting industry within the next 2 years, and I know we're going to get there. I knew that I had to carve out time to do this, right? It's the whole working on the business and working in the business. If you look at it from a profitability standpoint, those 3 hours yesterday, could I have made more money meeting with clients and doing things and doing money producing tasks? Absolutely. But I had to think long term about it. And so that
Yeah.
analysis paralysis is because typically you're looking at it from the short term point of view.
Hmm.
And again, a lot of times just overthinking it. And it's best to start somewhere. I love what you said about the organism and the living part of it.
Yeah, a lot of times we're looking at it as like a two steps forward, one step back, when really we need to look at it as a one step back, two steps forward. Writing these processes down, recording them, freeing up that mental capacity for ourselves is a slingshot motion. So, Chris, what are the top five systems or the first five systems that a painting business owner should have documented?
Yeah, so I think there, it's hard to pick just five. Let's be honest. Let's just start with that. But I would say there's a few different ones here. I think number one is a financial system, and when I say that, I'm talking more about the day to day operations of it. I'm going to come back to a part two on financial, which is going to be my fifth point here. But I think the day to day financial system and a couple things that we preach to our clients. Yeah, I don't even feel bad about saying preach. We do preach this to them. Is proactive tax savings, right? To pay your tax bill at the end of the year, to make your quarterly payments, set a certain percentage of your revenue aside, whether it's 5%, 10%, 20%, to set aside to pay those tax bills whenever they come out. We recommend also having a deposit account. So as deposits come in to you as the business owner, you take them, you put them in a separate account until you're buying materials and about to start that job, right? And so those
Right.
are like two of the big ones. Just to keep things simple. Another one, this is kind of a nice little added bonus, is a profit account, where you allocate maybe 5% of the revenue into this profit account, and that's your bonus for being an entrepreneur every quarter.
So are you
So
talking about
that's
more
number
like a
one.
profit first
Yep.
type mentality?
Yep. Profit first. Yeah,
Uh,
we take the profit first concept, which I love, and we water it down and make it a little more applicable to painting contractors, to keep it from getting too overwhelming and stuff. And so that's why we like the concept of the accounts, but we kind of simplify what exactly he talks about in that book, because it gets to be a lot and it gets to be a little bit confusing sometimes.
yeah, and what Chris is talking about, if you're not familiar, is Profit First by Michael Michalowicz. And also, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, Chris, but Sean Van Dyke rewrote that book, Profit First for Contractors,
I just
because
saw
he
that.
yeah, so that's a good book too. If you listen to it on Audible, what's nice about that is Sean Van Dyke narrates it himself, and he
Oh,
gives
that's
you
cool.
a few more nuggets beyond, above and beyond what that is. But it's still the same framework, the same
Yeah.
heart, but it's adjusted for exactly to what you're saying. Because I don't think a lot of contractors understand that a deposit on a job for work that's not completed is a liability. It is not income.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%, man.
I think that's a super important thing, and I'm glad you touched on that. We'll have to come around on another podcast and talk specifically about Profit First and some
Love
of the
to.
pain points that go along with that. I've gotten a lot of slack on trying to implement that from my accountant, and how that
Yeah.
works from an accounting
Yeah.
standpoint and bookkeeping. So I'd really like to delve into that with somebody who actually has experience on it.
For
So
sure. For sure. No, I
we've
would
got
love to.
yeah. So we've got the day to day financial systems down.
Yep.
What's the next system that we're going to document, Chris?
Number two is going to be your estimating system. I think this is, especially for the smaller companies, I think this is just as important, if not more important, than the larger ones. And the estimating system I'm talking about is being able to go take numbers at an estimate to come up with a quote for painting that's confident, quick, and consistent. Right? Those are the three things we always say. Making sure you're confident in the numbers, make sure it's quick ish, and you're confident and quick, confident, and consistent is the third one. Sorry. And so I think with that is what I'm talking about, is coming up with a system to where you can say, okay, this is how long it takes to do these tasks. This is how quickly, an estimate should be 10 to 20% of your time there actually getting your numbers and coming up with your price, and 80 to 90% focused on the customer, building a relationship, getting to know them, and building rapport. And so I
Right.
think having a number system in place that allows you, I'm a huge fan of doing estimates on the spot, and not because I'm trying to hard sell, not because I'm trying to push them. It's because I want to give them the sales experience that they expect when they're getting an estimate, right? And so I want
I
to have
think
a
the key
system in
word
place.
there is
Yeah.
experience, because
Yes.
I know for me, this is something that I'm currently working on.
Yeah.
Today was the first day in a long time that I actually took my laptop with me to estimates. I
Yeah.
had 4 estimates done, and I was able to complete 3 of them in the field and convert 2 of them on the spot because
See.
I didn't hem and haw. And I think
Yeah.
when you, what I'm starting to find or starting to put 2 and 2 together on is that when you have the numbers back to them that quickly,
Yeah.
that just drips with confidence, right?
Oh, it does. It shows confidence, and it also like separates you from the other contractors, right? Like, let's say, and I've got these stats somewhere. It's in a PowerPoint. Like how many bids homeowners get, right? And most people are surprised that I want to say off the top of my head, I'm spitballing here that like 70 something percent of homeowners only get one bid. Everybody always assumes they're getting 5 bids, but I
Right.
think with that being said, is when the homeowners are getting two, three, 4 bids, like when 3 contractors are going home to think about it and send you a quote within a week and you're like right there on your laptop, computer, iPad, whatever, going through a quote with them before you pull out of their driveway, dude, that's powerful, man. That's powerful for that sales experience. And at the end of the day, you guys are selling yourselves. And so I think just having the number system in place to do that, and I think really where it's the key and why I say I think it's more important for the smaller companies than the larger ones is because when you leave their driveway, you have nothing left to do aside from follow up with them in 3 to 5 days if they didn't book on the spot. Like you don't
Right.
have to go home. You don't have to spend time at the estimate. And again, I would do a typical interior estimate, exterior in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
There, talk to them, do a walkthrough, get my numbers, write it up, run through it with them, 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes for larger projects, but still, it just having that. So I think that's the second one. I could go on and on for days about that, but we'll keep this under like an hour and a half for this episode. So
Yeah, no, but
um,
I think that's a great point. But also,
yeah,
honestly, if you have an estimate to do just a standard run of the mill interior, or you're doing
yeah,
something that's commercial, like a client is going to expect that it's going to take more time for the larger of the two
yeah,
projects. So if you
yep,
take longer time while you're there, then there's effort that's felt, as opposed to
yep,
if you take 72 hours or a week to get back to both of those clients,
yeah.
what difference is there for them or from their standpoint?
Right. No, I think you're exactly right on that. And I think, being able to just go through it with them. And I'll say this too, set the expectation on the phone call, scheduling the estimate. Like, hey, just so you know, like, my qualifying question, and again, I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole here and take the whole episode for this, but, my qualifying questions are what are you looking to have done? And, what's your time frame, right? To make sure the scope of work and the time frame fit us to make sure I wasn't going to go waste my time at an estimate. And so I would know at that, okay, here's what they're doing, right? If somebody's like, hey, we have an entire basement, main floor, and upstairs, we need the walls, ceilings, trim, doors, door jambs repainted, I knew that was going to be a 45 minute to an hour estimate. And so
Yeah.
when I got off the phone with them, I would always tell them, hey, like just so you know, like I'm blocking out 45 minutes for this estimate, or I'm blocking out an hour. Typically we're there for about 30 minutes, give or take, just to give you an expectation of how long this is going to take. And before I leave, I'll run through everything with you and go over what the price is going to be. I always set the time expectation and the fact we were going to do an estimate that day to them. On the phone, so that way there was no surprises. That way they weren't expecting me to be there for 10 minutes like a lot of other contractors and then leave. Like I'm like, no, I'm here for 30 minutes and we're going to run through this together. So
That's awesome.
anything you want to add on that before we go to number three?
No, no, I think we can circle back
Yeah,
later. I actually kind of wanted to run my estimating system by you. It's something that
yeah,
I've newly implemented, and
yeah,
just kind of spitball any adjustments. But let's get through these first 5, and then we can circle back to
yeah.
that.
Cool.
So
So
what's number 3?
number three is going to be a production system. And I know that's a little bit vague, but there's two pieces to it for me. SOPs, standard operating procedures. It's exactly what we talked about earlier, documenting the way that you go through and do projects. So that has got to be a big system. So it allows you to train new people and make sure that as you grow, if you grow, that everything is standardized across the board, right? You don't want your first painter doing things different than your sixth painter you hire. And the second piece of that, and this is really where the key is, I kind of alluded to this earlier, work orders. Whether it's in with your estimating and CRM software, whether it's something you build in Google Sheets, we even have a template for it that just allows you to go in and say, here's everything we're doing on this job. Here's the color every piece of this job's going, interior, exterior, whatever. Here's what we're doing. Here's the special tools needed. Everything. It answers every question about the production of that job, and that will save you a lot of phone calls if you're not there. And this allows you, when you do grow and you have two different job sites going at one time, the crew leaders have access to these work orders. They know everything that's happening on this project. You're basically just turning your estimate and all the notes you took at that estimate into a production work order for your team.
Right. So it leaves less opportunity for these missed items and things like that. And also kind of going back to your estimating process, that does too, because going from the job site, even just back to the office or later that day, or 3 days from now, you're gonna miss less items on your estimate because it's gonna be front of mind, top of mind, and then that's gonna make everything following that that much smoother.
100%. And I think too, like the production system starts at the estimating system. The way that you take your numbers and your notes will make the production system easy for you, or it will make it a lot more work. So, I always say back up a step, right? And so if you're struggling with the production system, back up with how you're doing your estimates, the notes you're taking, the way you take your numbers. Again, our clients have access to, certain resources we have to help with this stuff. But no, you're absolutely right on that. I think the production system is huge to make sure things are consistent. And I'll give you a perfect example. You mentioned I had a painting company. I came from the industry. I spent about 10 years in it before doing what we're doing now full time. And whenever we had a job, and I will never forget, it was actually for one of our friends, probably thankfully, they still talk to us, I guess, so that's good. And they had like oak doors, and they were starting to transition their house into white. That's a big thing here in the Midwest. I don't know how it is down in Florida where you're at, but they were starting to transition it to white. And we were only doing the outside of this one bathroom, like in the hallway, like kitchen area. We were only doing the door and the door jamb. The outside of it, where we were painting the rest of the house, we weren't doing anything inside the bathroom. They didn't want the back side of it done because they weren't ready to do that remodel yet.
Yeah, everything that was common area facing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Everything
run into that all the time.
Had it in the work order. Had it detailed in there. Like I even made a note: we're not doing anything inside the bathroom, not even the inside of the door and door jamb. Right.
Right.
So I show up one day at 2:00. One of my painters is inside the bathroom painting the backside of the door jamb. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Right. And he was like, oh, I thought we were doing it. And I was like, did you look at the work order? And he's like, oh, I didn't look at it since this morning. And I was like, this is 100% on you. So I was like, why don't you go ahead and finish painting the inside of the trim in the bathroom? And I'm not paying you for it. Like, you didn't look at the work order. So I've probably worked with them a little bit on it and stuff, just because I was kind of a pushover sometimes. But at the end of the day, I had the work order to fall back on. Like, it was clear as a clean window that we weren't doing that, right? And so I think the work orders also allow you as a business owner to hold your employees accountable and to, have that conversation when they do something that's not part of the work order and it's obviously on there. That's 100% on them. And in my opinion, that shouldn't come out of your pocket being the business owner, right? Like, that's on them to fix it or to do whatever it is that needs done. So again, I'm not trying to draw a divide between you and your employees, but it's pretty clear when, the work order is a work order and they're doing other stuff. You're like, that's between you and the homeowner. Like, not really. You're just going to do it for free. So,
well, it kind of, what it brings up is now that everything's a black and white. So if you're pulling that employee aside because they did something either that was in contrast to the scope or off scope or however you want to term it, it's black and white. It's not like, well, I'm pretty sure I told you. No, it's black and white. It's not, hey, Chris woke up on the wrong side of the bed and he's just taking it out on me. It's none of that. It's delineated. No, that's good.
Yeah.
So the production SOPs, what else do you have under production SOPs?
So that's it on the production side of things.
Okay.
The fourth system, going back to our list of top five, relationship marketing system. And again, this applies to every business owner, whether you are solopreneur or you have 10 employees. You need to have a relationship marketing system in place. And what I mean by relationship marketing is taking the happy, previous, satisfied customers that you have that love you and love your work and turning them into raving fans of your business through referrals and repeat business. And I got a couple notes here I'll just run through real quick here on how you can do this. Number one, send a
But Chris,
handwritten. Go
I
ahead.
I I am the best painter in my area, and all my
Yeah.
customers love me, and they think about me all day, every day, because I did such a great job for them. Do I really need the system?
Well, that's called deception, my friend. You might be the best painter in your area. Your customers might love you, but if they haven't heard of you, seen your name, heard from you in 3 years, guess what, dude? They kind of forgot how great you were. Like, think back to any experience you've had anywhere in a restaurant, buying a vehicle, you maybe a home service at your house. When those people left and you had an amazing experience with them, you were like for like at least 2 weeks, you were raving about them on Facebook. You were telling everybody about them. It was great, right? And
Yep.
then you like literally forget about it because life happens. So I love that you mentioned that because that's 100% like what a lot of people say, and I'm like, no, that's not how this works. People do forget over time, right?
Correct.
And
Just
so
because we
always
remember
send
our
it
business and think about our business on a daily
doesn't
basis
mean they
doesn't mean
do.
our clients do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So a couple things. One, always send a handwritten thank you note to every job after you finish it. Now, if you have a customer that was a little bit of a pain, um, use some discretion there. You don't feel the need to send one, right? But for about 85 to 90% of your jobs, you're going to always send a handwritten thank you note to them to say thank you for your business. We appreciate you giving the opportunity to serve you in your home. Please reach out if you ever need anything in the future. We really appreciate you. That kicks off the relationship with them. The other couple of things, the two things we always say to our clients, one, send a monthly value add email to them. And let me preface this. I emphasize value add very heavily here because for most people they blast out a newsletter that's 100% about their company and what's going on and hey, we need work and like that's people are going to open that once and never again, right? The goal of this is to do something for them, whether it's a homeowner tip based on the season that you're in right now, whether it's
Yep.
something in their personal lives. So one of our clients last month, we helped them put a newsletter out that was the top five summer vacation spots in the U.S. for this summer, right? Because it's that time of year where people are booking family vacations. So make it a value add to them so that they're going to open it every single month and keep adding value to their life. And maybe at the bottom, put something about a recent project you've done. Maybe it's an offer you're running, a special, whatever it is. I mean, it could be 10% about your business at the bottom of it, but no more than 10% of that email.
Right. Right. Yeah. I always likened it, relationship marketing. It's like when you have that one family member who only
Yeah.
calls you when they need money. At
Yep.
some point, you're going to stop answering the phone call or let it go to voicemail,
100%.
call them the next day, whatever the case is.
Yep.
And if we as business owners act like that needy family member by only contacting someone when they need money or when we need money, then it winds up being that same type of relationship. So we have to
Yep.
give more than just applying paint, applying coating on a wall. No, that's fantastic.
Couldn't agree more. The last the last piece of the relationship marketing one. So we have a marketing advisor. Her name's Rachel. She's freaking awesome. She helps brainstorm and strategize this stuff with our clients. But we call them quarterly connection cards. And we say that you should make a list of your top 100 clients, maybe 50 if you haven't been in business too long, or maybe more than 100 if you've been in business for quite a while and, have a lot of clients in your database. Make a list of your top 100 clients and top 20 referral partners. Once a quarter, you send out a card to them, and it's with some fun little cheesy pun, again, based on the time of year. So, for example, in March, One thing that we brainstormed is to send out a card that says on the inside, we're so lucky to have you as clients or as referral partners, depending on the relationship, with a $1 scratch off ticket inside. Like it's just a little something fun to, again, remind them of you and keep you top of mind with them. Right. And guess what?
Right.
Like for me, my personality, like I'm a very direct personality. I'm like, oh, that's kind of stupid. But guess what? Every month, Rachel was our real estate agent too when we bought our house. Like every month when she sends us stuff, I'm like, oh, this is so great. I just love it. Right? It's a free $1 scratch off. It's a free Kool-Aid packet in the summertime. Like there's always something with it. And so again, it takes some time to do this, but it's building those relationships. Which again, for your average 1.6 employee company, literally this relationship marketing can just sustain your business for eternity, right? If you do this right, there will be enough repeat business and referrals to just keep you and your zero point 0.6 employee busy nonstop. So I would rather spend my time doing this and the little bit of money that it may take for postage and some cards and maybe a $5 Starbucks gift card on National Coffee Day, whatever month that falls into. I would rather spend my time and energy doing this stuff than like out putting flyers on houses and spending it on digital marketing and billboards and all the other stuff.
Yeah, because realistically, at the volume that we're able to produce at this size, do we really need 30 to 40 calls a month in order to
No,
fill up our queue?
no,
Maybe a
probably
tenth of
five
that.
to 10. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say 5 to 10, depending on your average job size and your closing rate. So,
for sure. For
so we
sure.
love the quarterly connection cards. Again, it's about staying top of mind. I'll speed this up a little bit. The last system, I said there was the financial day-to-day side of it, and then this
Hmm.
is 2.0, and this is the what I kind of call the financial analysis system. I think both of these two financial pieces are so important to your business. That's why I wanted to separate them in the top five. But for me, the financial analysis system is weekly and monthly job costing, understanding the cash flow your business has on a monthly basis. And what I mean by that is you have your job costing. So you take your labor and your materials applied to every job that you did that month. And you see, okay, what was my gross profit after labor materials? Well, then I want you to subtract out your overhead, all the money you spent that month that wasn't attributed to labor materials, how much you took out of the business. What is the monthly cash flow of your company? Right? Did you make money? Are you taking more money out of the business that month than what you actually made on the jobs
Right.
after your overhead? And so job costing, monthly cash flow number, and then the last one is being proactive and having a spending plan. We call it a spending plan for one reason, Christian. It's because people hate the word budget. It's the same thing. But
Yeah.
just being proactive and saying, hey, next month, we've got this coming up. Maybe you pay your workers' comp on a quarterly basis, like some business owners do. So next month we have a work comp payment coming up, so we have to prepare for that. A lot of our clients right now, we're having conversations. We're here in February, right before PCA Expo, like I mentioned. We're having a conversation of, hey, I know you've already paid for your tickets to Expo and you paid for your airfare, but guess what? You haven't paid for your hotel. You haven't paid for your Uber to and from the hotel. You haven't paid for your meals and probably all the drinks you're going to have until 2 a.m. every night. So we probably, yeah, I mean, that doesn't happen at all at Expo. We
No,
probably
I,
ought
I
to
drove
budget
home
a
right after
little bit.
Expo. Ours was in
Well,
Orlando last
you
year.
did. Yeah,
So,
you had it lucky. I don't think you're driving home from New Mexico every night. So,
no,
um,
no.
but that's the conversation I had. I said you probably need to set a budget and like plan for that on where that money's going to come from, right? Or you've already had money set aside for it, like we really preach to a lot of people. So having that proactive spending plan before the month starts every month to just know, hey, we're incurring these expenses, so we need to offset that somewhere. We need to bump up our revenue a little bit. We know we're going to need to tap into our savings a little bit, whatever it is, having that proactive spending plan. So that's the fifth one, is just the analysis system, sitting down weekly job costing, sitting down at the end of every month, doing your monthly cash flow, sitting down once a month right before the month ends to do the following month's spending plan.
Yeah, I think the key there is proactive because
Yep,
there's a reason why the rear view mirror is so much smaller than the windshield is because when you're being
100%.
proactive, you're looking forward. And it's so sad but true that the word budget has more of a negative connotation than bankruptcy in our
Yes.
society.
Yep.
But how much worse are you going to be off on a bankruptcy than you would just having a budget, or in your case, putting a spending plan together, which is
Yep.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And no, so that's good. So we've got our day-to-day financial system, an estimating system, production SO, production system, which is made up of all of our standard operating procedures, relationship marketing, following up with the clients, and then our big picture financial an analysis system. All
Yep.
really good points, and I think that's a fantastic foundation. Obviously, as your company grows, like we said, organization, the
Yeah.
root word is organism. As it grows, these systems not only themselves are going to change, but maybe the order of them are going to change. Maybe the things that you review as the business owner will change and look different. You'll
Yeah.
pass off the production SOPs to your operations manager or your production manager. The estimating could go off to your sales manager, but that's further down the line. Those are things that you can tackle when you come across that bridge. At least you have these foundational systems in place in order to either free up your mind today or to live a better tomorrow, which is fantastic. No,
Yes.
all
No,
great
I
points,
love it.
Chris. So we talked about a lot today. This was very, very exciting to talk about, and you're actually, I think everybody knows you're our first guest here on the Pain Points podcast.
I'm
So
honored.
with that being said, well, I couldn't think of anybody better. I've been on your
Well,
podcast
thanks. Yep.
before, and we've had some good talks, good conversations about those things. And when I had this epiphany of systems for sustainability, I couldn't think of a better candidate than yourself to be a part of this. So
I,
I thank you for your
I
time.
appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. My pleasure. I'm always happy to do it, and I look forward to doing a couple more episodes with you. Profit first, and we could talk much more in depth about all this. Maybe we'll do a couple, 2 or 3 part series too.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, I definitely look forward to it. I'm sure the audience would too. So on closing, what is one thing that if there's only one takeaway that the listeners have today, what is that one takeaway?
Oh man, I would say if I have to pick one thing, if you haven't listened to anything Christian and I've just talked about in the last however long it's been, I would say honestly, it's just start somewhere. I know I kind of said that earlier when it came to SOPs and documenting, but I think all of these systems, the estimating, the production, both the financial ones, the relationship marketing, just start somewhere with it and continue to grow. I think that's the best way to implement a system is just start somewhere, get comfortable with it, make it a routine, make it a habit, right? Every time a job finishes, part of your, checklist to close out the job is send them a thank you card afterwards. Just make it a habit, and then take on the next step to that system, or work on another system, right? Same thing with finances. Maybe just get comfortable putting your 10% aside for taxes, or deposits, or, pick one of them and then get used to that and then take on the next thing, right? Don't try to conquer
Right.
all 5 things in all areas at one time. So if I had to pick one thing, I honestly think that's the biggest thing that I think can help somebody listen to this is just pick one system, pick one piece of it, get used to it, and then iterate it from there.
Yeah, I was in a mastermind group earlier this week, and I brought up starting to document my systems and my SOPs as my win for the week. And one of the guys in my group said, "A short pencil is better than a long memory." So get this stuff
I
on
like that.
paper. It's going to be so
I
much
like
better for
that.
you. Chris,
Yep.
it's been
No,
an
I agree.
absolute pleasure having you here on the podcast as our first guest. Really, I think we kind of opened Pandora's box on topics to discuss, and this literally probably could have been several hours together, but you
We'll
clearly have
save this for
demonstrated.
another day.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. When it's raining or snowing out for you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you've clearly demonstrated your knowledge of the industry, your expertise in assisting businesses and business owners achieve their goals, whatever that looks like. So, with that being said, this is your opportunity to plug what you guys do.
Yeah.
So, go ahead and take a minute and tell us a little bit more about Elite Business Advisors and how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity enough to do that. Yeah, so you can check us out online. Go to our website. It's www.elite-business.com. elitebusinessadvising.com. Check us out on there. That's how you can get started. Every client we talk to, we always do a free business analysis meeting. We do about a 30 to 45-minute Zoom call. Just get to know you, get to know your business, hear about where you're at, where you want to go, see if we feel like we're a great fit to help you get there, and let you know what it looks like to work with us. And so that's a great place to start out if you're interested. You can get some more info there. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Elite Business Advisors on both platforms. Same thing on LinkedIn. Check us out on there. We always are posting stuff. We have our own podcast, the Elite Business Advice Podcast. You'll see clips and stuff pop up on. So happy to have any listeners listen to both of us here, Christian. And I appreciate the opportunity to plug ourselves. Like I said, we focus on working with contractors and do monthly or bi-monthly advising and just help them get their business where they want it to be, whatever that means to them. We're not focused on just growth. We're not focused on just finances or marketing. It's everything and as a whole to help you get your business where you want it to be.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I know in our conversations in the past, you and I had I had the pleasure of meeting you at Expo last year. I listened to your podcast before Expo, so I was kind of familiar with you, but we were able to put a face to the name. And through this past year, just listening to your podcast and applying those things that you talk about, it's definitely helped. I haven't ran to do all of those activities, but looking back, it definitely has changed the stress level that I have in running my business on a daily basis. So for me personally, I thank you for all that you do, through your business, through PCA, and even with some of your conference call or seminars that you give through other vendors and stuff like that. So really appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Yep.
Thank you for your passion for wanting to elevate the industry. And until next time, thanks a lot, Chris. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Christian.
All right. Bye.